Yeah. So good afternoon, all the participants from all over the globe, all over the country. I welcome you for this Global Udan series. Myself, C. Abhay Chajed, I am the Central Council member, the convener of this Development of International Trade WTO services. So, wish to welcome all of you who have joined this very important webinar named as Global Udan series. And this series started last month. We took the initiative from ICI that we create a webinar series, a name which would be unique, of course, and then members would be keen to get to know what globally these accounting services, the opportunities which are now coming to India, and especially I would say US. We've started our certificate course, 7 batches we've already done. Eighth batch we are going to start on 5th of May. So a lot of good response which members have given to us, and members are attending. But before that, I'm very happy to welcome our two eminent speakers today, Maneet Singh and Girinath. Thank you so much, Maneet and Girinath, for accepting our invitation and being here today on first. Of course, it's a holiday at some locations. Not all locations are working today, but thank you for being here. And also the moderators here, Rishi Arora, thank you so much for moderating this very important Global Udan series webinar, which is named as Navigating US Accounting Outsourcing, an Overview, and all the participants who have joined us today. So, like I was mentioning, this a series which we have started, an opportunity for participants and members to know what globally now the global capability centers being created, the opportunities which are now coming to India in terms of outsourcing work. And one of the countries, very important countries, been there for many years is the US market. So I think this series would definitely help the members to gain connections. It helps to get sharing of knowledge, and of course what cross-border collaboration which we can do among ourselves and among the members. So this is an opportunity on this Global Udan series. So we have the experts, Maneet and of course Girinath. They've been speaking on various sessions. They've been speaking as faculties in our certificate courses, and definitely with their presence, with the experience and the practical exposure which they possess in terms of the US market, I'm sure the participants would really get benefited this with this webinar and the Global Udan series which we have started. So, like I was mentioning, this is one of the initiative of this directorate, the US certificate course which we are doing and starting the 8th batch on 5th of May. That's again an opportunity for members to please register, because that is an opportunity where we get experts from India and even abroad who share their experiences and the opportunities which are available, and prepare the participants, the members, that how we can equip ourselves if the opportunity comes to each one of us. Whether we talk about payroll accounting, we talk about accounting of books of accounts, we talk about filing of income tax returns. So any such opportunity which comes to India, I think this is one area where we are focusing this certificate course, an excellent response from members across India. And now we are in process of finalizing a certificate course for UK market. So there also we are in process of discussion. And in next 2 months, we'll be having a certificate course for UK market. So this is more of facilitating or facility available to members to join, take the opportunity, learn, and create opportunity or create a vertical within the firm. I think that is what the idea is. And last thing, the residential refresher courses we are doing, already decided one. For those who have cleared this certificate course, we have created a batch or a pool of people who will be meeting at Jaipur Center of Excellence between 9th to 11th. We have planned a residential refresher course for members. So 40 plus registration already there. We'll have industry experts speaking about the global opportunities, about the talent which India has, and what is the cost advantage which India has, which the other countries do not have. So that is the opportunity which we thought as a residential refresher course, which we'll have it on 3 days, 9th, 10th, and 11th. With this, I once again welcome the distinguished panel today, Girinath, Maneet, and I'm sure with Rishi raising the questions to them, getting an answers, getting opportunity to listen to expert would truly be an opportunity for all the participants to learn this area of opportunity and how they can create a new vertical within the firm. So once again, welcome all of you. And thanks to Rishi for moderating. Over to you, Rishi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhisar. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you for joining us today. I just got the update that we are 1,300 members live right now. That's
Fantastic, fantastic one.
so,
Excellent. Yeah, that is
again, a
too
very
good a
warm
number.
welcome to all the participants for joining us today's session under the Global Udan webinar series organized by the Development of International Trade Services and WTO Directorate of ICAI. I am C. Rishi Arora from Jamshedpur, and I have the honor of moderating today's session on the highly relevant topic, navigating US accounting outsourcing. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt welcome to CA Abhay Chajad, sir, convener, DIT SWTO Directorate. Thank you, sir, for your leadership in driving these global opportunities. CA Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singhal, Deputy Convener, for his continued guidance and support. Our esteemed speakers, CA Manit Singh and CA Girinath Dave, who bring deep insights from the field, and most importantly, to all the chartered accountant members who have taken out the time across India and abroad, who have tuned in for today's session. Today, we will be unpacking on what's really happening in the US accounting outsourcing space, how Indian firms can tap into it, what are the typical services, challenges, or compliances issues which we should take care of, and how we can really scale globally without leaving our cities. So, this session is more than just a discussion, it's a window into the global opportunities. And in my recent experience with in the networking events, I have seen a lot of people are interested in this. And in the next 2 hours, we will be exploring how Indian CAs can tap into this market. So, welcome to all of you again. Let's dive in.
So Rishi, I think just before you start, one more thing I thought may be important for participants to know that
Sure.
the initiatives, of course, I've already shared a couple of them like Global Udan series and the certificate course and the other areas where we are focusing more on the global opportunity. Now, there are a lot of GCCs, the Global Capability Centers, which are now starting in India and coming to India. You talk about small with 20, 30 or 50 members or maybe 500 and then maybe 1,000, 2,500, a big GCCs. So we have from the WTO planned events in June, September, November, December, and even in the month of February. This will be held at different locations in like Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Delhi. So there we are inviting the experts from all over the country, world, in fact, and then we'll have panel discussions. So this tentative planning for June last week, we've already planned a GCC summit. Most likely will be at Delhi. So tentative dates just proposed is 27th and 28th of June. So members, participants interested must surely look up to the profile, the flyers, and see if you can register because we'll have an extensive discussion, a panel discussion. Experts will be there sharing their experience and opportunity which can come to you in India. So this is just the beginning of GCCs in June and then again in September and then going forward at different locations. Thank you, Rishi.
Great, great. Thank you, sir. Uh, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our first speaker, CA Manit Singh. Manit is a professional with an impressive academic background and intensive experience. Having successfully completed his chartered accountancy in the year 2017, he has since gone on to receive DISA, CISA certifications. With over 7 years of experience in US tax and accounting domain, he specializes in assisting businesses that operate in both India and the US with their structural and international compliance requirements. Now, his experience extends to serving clients with business operations in both India and the US, where he has been instrumental in devising effective structuring strategies and ensuring compliances with the international tax regulations. Moreover, his ability to research and analyze complex issues enables him to provide innovative solutions tailored to each client's unique circumstances. Welcome, CA Manit Singh. Uh, Over to you.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you very much. Nice to hear that we have a lot of participants today, more than 1,300. Uh, and it was nice opening remarks by CF Chatterjee also. So today, moving on to the topic, as like uh, we already mentioned that we are already been into 7 outsourcing batches. We try to cover extensively a lot of things there also. And because with it today we are having an overview session, we will try to cover as much as possible in a short span of time. So like I'll take the first and then Giri will take it forward. Specifically, Giri will talk about networking opportunity, especially to all the chartered accountants who are looking forward to have this work. Also, we will also be learning before getting how to tap into a network or how to get an opportunity. We should also understand that technically what an opportunity is and how is it relevant to you. So I normally, whenever we take sessions or whenever we talk to students, so because we are going into all teaching faculties and all those teaching students. So what happens is members do have a question regularly that so there are two types of scenarios which we normally encounter. So the first scenario, which is very common, that how to get work. The second scenario, which is very much common, indeed, I will say it's a 50-50 ratio, that I have now got a client, then how to proceed or what to do now. Because technically both are important. If you don't know the work, how to deliver the work, then also it becomes a challenge. Then you get a client, then how you will deliver it. Again, you know how to do it, but you don't get a client, then it is again more a better experience that I know how to do this, but I'm not getting clients. So taking it forward today, we'll try to cover that. Okay, we all know what is outsourcing. Majorly, we know that outsourcing is somewhere where a business function or some specific business unit or a business stuff is given to a third party who is basically an expert in doing the same. So, for example, you might say that talking about an event, you want to organize an event at your house. Definitely, you know how to make food, but you don't know how to make food for a 500 people or 600 people. You hire a caterer, then he will help you out with all those things. So when you are also doing the same stuff, an event is understand it as a business for a particular day. You are taking a function and you are outsourcing it to somebody. You are outsourcing event management to event managers. You are outsourcing certain areas to a certain expert. So the basic thing here is that if you want to enter into outsourcing, you must know that what type of work you are going to do. If you don't know what the work is to be performed, starting a practice, because outsourcing is not related only to a single person. Outsourcing does not end with B2C. It also goes to B2B. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
In the
Manit,
presentation mode. In the
Manit,
presentation
make
mode.
the PPT full screen, Manit.
Oh, okay.
Do it
Yeah.
on the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. I'm just making. Oh, yeah. So what happens? Yeah. I think now it's fine. Okay. Yeah. So talking about these things. So first, understanding outsourcing and what you are entering into. So when you are entering into outsourcing, or when, for example, if you're handling currently, if you're into an Indian practice, you are handling 30 companies, GST filings, or might be their payroll or their income tax returns. Technically, that is also outsourcing for them. Technically, you are working as a vendor, they are hiring you. They are not having a capacity in-house, or they don't prefer it to be in-house because they feel that having it in a hands of an expert is more good. With a price competitive advantage is definitely one thing which everybody across the globe look for, that it has to be competitive itself with the pricing stuff also. So that is also technically it is an outsourcing. 30 companies are providing the work to you. Now moving forward with this concept and this understanding, when we talk about US outsourcing, it is nothing different. It is just about, when we are talking about accounting outsourcing, it does not mean only that we are talking about accounts, books of accounts, bookkeeping, or just managing ARAPs. In India, outsourcing, especially from the United States, which we talk about, goes beyond accounting and it goes up to tax returns, especially income tax return, or what we call is that federal tax return and state tax return filings. And this is a bigger area than accounting outsourcing itself. And most of the companies, or most of the global shared service centers, or GSCs or GCCs, capability centers, which you are seeing in India, majorly are engaged into tax outsourcing. Some are also engaged into audit back offices, such as Big Four having Deloitte USI, or you can talk about some big offices like EY GTS. They also have auditing back offices here in India, where the staff is there, they are performing some work at the back end, then it is going to the main offices into the United States. Same goes with UK also. UK, US. I think Australia is an upcoming area where people are more looking forward towards outsourcing also. But yeah, US has already been across India, which is very more popular and very much availability of work is also high in this domain. So when we are talking about outsourcing and making it as an opportunity, so opportunities, we have to understand what is an opportunity. It does not mean that everything is an opportunity. For example, if I say electronic vehicles are going good in India, they are still into the early phase. Is it an opportunity? Definitely, is it an opportunity? Yes, it is an opportunity. But if I say, is it an opportunity for me or guys like you might not say that. There can be some ancillary opportunity, but you cannot enter directly into manufacturing of an electronic vehicle or an ancillary. For example, if you think that, okay, I'll start making batteries are, and you think that, okay, currently the vehicles are being sold out, but there are not availability of fuel, like electricity fuel centers, or for example, repair and maintenance centers across various cities, especially tier 2 and tier 3 cities. You might find it as an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity, but technically whether it is relevant to me or not depends on the circumstance, that whether I know the skill set, I know the knowledge, or I don't possess it. If I don't possess it, technically is it relevant to me or not? So an opportunity for being relevant to you, you have to have certain skill sets and knowledge base. So if I want to make an EV, or I want to start an EV company, I'm not talking about four-wheelers, I'm only talking about two-wheelers itself. Or for example, some electronic bike or something. So I definitely have to have knowledge base about it. That how the mechanics go, how the electronic vehicles, how the motor system is going to work, how it has to be done, what will be the assembly line, what will be the manufacturing line. I have to be knowledgeable on the supply chain part and everything, all the technological aspects around it, because it's a technology which I am going to do. So currently, if I don't know about that stuff, I don't have the knowledge base and don't have the skill set. Definitely, it's an opportunity, but it is not relevant to me. Till the time I don't get the requisite background or the technical foundation, which is essential to make a building on it. So your foundation should be strong. If you are trying to make a building, if you want to make a big building out of it. For example, if you want to have a 10-floor building, you have to ensure foundation is being strong, and the dynamics as well as the science behind it is also strong. So you have to ensure all the aspects. If you want to start a good stuff, if you want to make a strong building that stands for long. So the same process and the same understanding goes here also. So if you want to start an outsourcing practice in the United States market, so it is again an entirely new area. And whenever we are talking about tax laws, so tax is a law. So whenever you are navigating more due diligence and more deeper understanding, it does not mean that it is just not about return filing. It is more about understanding the laws and then executing it. Return filing is the output and the outcome. So we cannot focus on the outcome. We have to focus on the input also. That how this process goes. Otherwise, you will end up preparing a wrong tax return. Client might come to you after 2 or 3 months. I filed it. Somebody has sent it there. They are asking me question. They are saying that this is not right. You have not shown this. You have not done that. That type. These are practical experiences which we have faced earlier also. And currently, people come to us saying that, okay, oh, this has been done wrong. Now we have to amend the tax returns. What has to be done? They went the tax return when they submitted to some banking authority, or they submitted to some other tax practitioner. They are saying that this is not right, this is not going correctly. So all those type of scenarios are practically there in the market. So when you are trying to make opportunity being relevant to you, you have to understand that if you want to be into tax domain, then the first and the foremost thing is that you must know what the tax laws are. It is just not that we cannot assume that the tax laws in India will be same as tax laws in the US. And technically that is not the case because of the economy, because of the macroeconomic factors which are prevailing in the United States, the economic factors which are prevailing in India. We all have different priorities. India is a developing nation, US is a developed nation. So we might give some exemptions which are relevant for a developing nations. US might not give those exemptions. We might have some tax provisions in the Indian Income Tax Act which exempt some certain items, but the same does not go with the United States. For example, a basic example is agriculture income is basically exempt in India. In United States, agriculture income is not exempt. So when you are trying to do a tax law stuff, you have to see that okay, the same income exemption does not prevail there. For example, profit share in the hands of partner in India is exempt in the hands of partner. The same is not replicable in the United States. So the type of entities, especially United States, have a entity structure which are known as pass-through entity, or you can say that these are hybrid nature entities. So those tax base we do not have proper pass-through structures under Indian income tax laws. So that makes it complex to understand that okay, we do not have such a concept in India. Partnership, the way it is taxed in India, and the same partnership, the way it is taxed in the United States, is somehow very different. So we have to understand all those navigations also, that how the things goes, and it becomes more interesting when you are dealing with both the countries. For example, if you know Indian tax laws also and you know US tax laws also, it becomes a very niche area. And definitely, I always communicate to all the aspiring people who want to have an outsourcing practice that it does not necessarily mean US outsourcing practice that only you are focusing on US areas. Instead, because you are chartered accountants, you have done a rigorous study in form of chartered accountancy course. You are already up to the mark of approximately, you have already done to an advanced level of income tax studies. You are already being practiced into income tax. Some of you might be doing dealing in audit or some, but majorly most of the chartered accountants who are doing articleship or internship in a mid-size firm, you get to taste all those things. You know how to do income tax also, GST also, and all those things. And major chartered accountant force are having such experiences. So you can use your experience there also and try to help clients. For example, it is not that Indians are not opening US entities. There are a lot of Indian people, Indian companies, Indian corporates, Indian partnerships, especially LLPs and Indian persons who are going into the United States for fundraising, for getting a fund, for listing their IPR there due to some certain advantages they do get in the due to macroeconomic factors also, and possessing your IPR in United States definitely give you some other advantages which is beyond tax. But in the end, when it comes to having a US entity, Indian owner, having a US base there, having a private limited company here, having a subsidiary in the United States, it is just not only dealing with a matter of United States. It is that you can also help them with DTAA concepts. That okay, there can be certain elements. For example, if you talk about, you have POEM in India, place of effective management law in India. Same way you have Article 5 permanent establishment in DTAA. Same way there could be the law office and fixed office or fixed place of business in the United States law, which is known as Internal Revenue Code. Understanding the concept of what constitutes or what can be the nexus or the connection requirements, you can guide more thoroughly to a person and you become actually irreplaceable. How do you become irreplaceable? In the manner that when you are able to get a particular person, for example, if I am from India, I have a corporate in India and I come to you that I want to open a US entity. And you are not only able to guide me on the US parts, but also you are taking the Indian laws into consideration. That is the way you create a trustworthy client base. And definitely, who are past experiences, that client base sticks along with you for a very, very long time period. So moving on to that part, having a knowledge base, for example, if you're trying to make an outsourcing practice, what could be a knowledge base? Accounting knowledge, tax laws knowledge, gap knowledge, US gap, as we have in India, Ind AS or accounting standards, they have gap in the United States, generally accepted accounting principles. Though it is known as generally accepted accounting, it's an authority like we have in India, accounting standard board, they also have FASB, business structuring, sales tax return, income tax returns. So these type of knowledge base, you have to understand that what are the tax laws there, what are the sales tax laws there, skill set now you know what is the income tax law. For example, now you know that, okay, if you want to prepare how the corporate tax structure goes, you have done a thorough study on a corporate taxation in the United States. Now, how to prepare a tax return, that will come into a skill set part, because navigating through an income tax return software. For example, in United States, as you in India, you use Computex, might be using Computex, or some might be using KDK, some might be using a Clear Tax, I think Tax Cloud, which is known as here in India Tax Cloud, Clear Tax. Many of you would be using these softwares. So the same way, they have some different softwares. They have different names. Somebody might be using Drake, which is the most popularly used tax return software in the United States. Drake. Some might be using Intuit softwares. Some might be using TurboTax to do their own filings, self-prepared filings, or small business filings. So these type of accounting software, tax softwares, you need to understand how they are, how you can use them. For example, if you will check, you will get evaluation versions of few software. For example, Drake gives an evaluation version. You can check that, you can download that, you can try to enter the situation there. You can try to see that how the data flows across the software and how the final tax forms are there. You also need to know how the tax form look like. For example, in India, you know how ITR 6 look like, but you don't know how an corporate income tax return in United States look like. So there is form 1120. Looking at it, looking at the PDF of the form, that okay, this is how the form structure is. Here are the line items. For example, gross revenue or sales, cost of goods sold, and all those things. So getting to looking at the forms, because ultimately, if you are trying to do advisory, then your knowledge base is more important, and the skill set is how to deliver your advisory, how you should be preparing the concept note and all those things. When you try to become an executioner or a person, your accounting, your outsourcing is more about operational aspects. For example, delivering income tax return, you should know how the format of the outcome look like. So you should be knowing that 1120, which is a corporate income tax return, it look like this. And because you are a chartered accountant, how you are already aware of those terminologies. Terminologies are different, but may not be having a similar meaning. But most of what I have seen it, and I have feel it from my personal experience, 70 to 75% of the things you will be able to understand without having a deep knowledge of what is actually going on. But you will be able to understand, okay, the prima facie, the forms look like this, the data I need to enter is this, and the flow will go through this. That is also helpful. When you are gaining knowledge, you have to be aware of both. Try to get knowledge also, try to get skill set also, so that you are able to start your own practice. And skill set is more even important, because when you are trying to have an accounting outsourcing practice, so there are two types of client base, B2C and B2B. So normally outsourcing does not mean that you are targeting only B2C. How it becomes a B2C, B2B opportunity when you are targeting B2B opportunities. Like if you, for example, take an example in India of a firm which is, for example, let us take for the sake of simplicity, EY, GDS or Deloitte USI. What they are doing, they are getting the work from their counterpart, which is sitting in the United States, Deloitte US. They are transferring the work to them in bulk. So having a separate entity in US, having a separate entity here in India, they might be sister concerns or captive unit, but they have developed the capacity. They have the specific infrastructure, whatever is required. They have the security systems in place. And this is why the security system is more important here, because United States has a certain culture. So there are certain culture which you have to follow when you are dealing in India. There is a different set of culture. How the client deals here is very much different, and how the client deals there is very much different. And you must ensure safety of client's data. Not sure how, like, we might be doing some, that we don't have specific guidelines here in India, that how are we going to have taxpayer data safeguarded here in India under income tax laws. But in United States, IRS specifically releases it, that okay, they have a publication, they have a system of publications. So having an infrastructure according to the need, according to the proper security system, and does not it, and when we talk about infrastructure, it does not mean only how strong are these. It is also important that how your security infrastructure is there, How strong is your security infrastructure? How secured is your Wi-Fi networks? How secure are you maintaining the data? So your data could be managed in a desktop-based environment. Is it the case? Or is it the case, are you managing the data on a cloud-based environment? For example, you are using Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox. How are you using your infrastructure on a security level basis, on a data management basis, also important, because the specific laws and regulations are there which govern how you should behave when you are dealing with US taxpayers. We will also be discussing those going into the next slides. But always keep in mind these type of stuff. Then when you are trying to get an outsourcing practice, or when you are trying to make a practice which is more oriented towards B2B clientele, then you have to ensure that your basic minimum requirements are always meeting. It is not just about knowledge base and not about skills. It is also about what are the other requirements for that particular business you have to do. There can be regulatory requirements also. As a chartered accountant, we sometimes do, like, because we are dealing in India, there is a democratized system of how income tax returns are being filed. There is no requirement of separate licensure which is required by chartered accountants to do the filings. But in United States, it is regulated. So you have to always keep that also in mind, that how the opportunity becomes relevant to you is just not about, for example, one person might come and say, I have done CPA. Now I have the knowledge base. I have done a hands-on training. Now I have a skill set also. Then, but they must also consider what are the regulatory requirements requirements there. If you are not able to fulfill those regulatory requirements, even though you are 100% knowledge oriented guy, you are very good at skill sets, but you will not be able to execute the things. This is also very much important when you need to understand. So we have tried to cover here that, okay, what type of opportunities are there in the United States. For example, I have covered something into 3 parts, that these are basic services which you can offer, these are intermediate services which you can offer, and these are advanced services which you can offer, so that you can kickstart your practice wisely. That, okay, you don't directly jump on that, I want to be a virtual controller or I want to be a virtual CFO. Technically, we have to understand that theoretically it looks very lucrative to sound as a VCFO, but what it takes to be a VCFO is an advanced knowledge. If you don't have an experience, if you don't have knowledge, you will be able to control, manage AR, AP if you don't know what are the legal and tax regulatory requirements there. For example, if you don't know that you have to collect W9 forms before making payment to a vendor, which is a KYC form type of stuff, then becoming a VCFO is a failure, because you will not be able to navigate with the tax laws. So to understand that how you should proceed, this is what I have personally experienced. It might change slightly for someone. Someone might say that accounting and bookkeeping is a basic service. I should enter into the basic service. Definitely you can. Up and down can be possible, but it's just a general idea what we have gained from our experiences and into the practical working in this domain. So entity formation, there are 50 states in the United States. That is the biggest advantage of the United States. Why I say that US is a very big market. It is just not that we are getting outsourcing from them. Definitely, they are ahead in technological stuffs from them, and they are more open towards outsourcing also. Subject to that, we meet their requirement, that we meet the safety and security requirement. We understand their culture. We understand their how do they work, how professionalism they prefer, how personalization they prefer. It does not mean that all the time being super professional works for everyone, and it does not mean every time becoming super personalization is also not something which works for everybody. It has to be a mix of both, because ultimately in the end you are dealing with a human being. So it has to be a mix and match of both the things, curated with your own knowledge base and your own understanding that how the client is, how a human being is, and how, what type of the person, what nature the person possesses which you are dealing with. So in United States, if there are 50 states, what happens is United States does not work like what India works. India is a federal structure. So I'll not say India is a federal structure. India and US both are federal structure, but the power to frame law on the entity formations, such as Companies Act 2013, which you are aware of, or LLP Act 2008, which is prevailing in India. It is passed by the central government in India, and it is managed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. which is a central government authority, which is a central government ministry, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. A state does not have any legal a power or a legislative power on these authorities. However, in United States, they have a system that there is a central, which is known as federal government, and beyond it, it comes states. States have their own power to frame the law for entity formation. So how does it impact? So for example, a few states which most of the people know is California, New York. These are two different states. So California will have their own income tax law, and New York will have their own income tax law. Sorry, I got to income tax. I was talking about company formation. So they will have their own company formation law, and the California will also have a separate company formation law, which is only related to their state. So the California company formation law or the General Corporation Act will not interfere with what the New York General Corporation law will say. They can have their own version of law. How does it differ? It makes a difference that an entity is incorporated with California will be known as a entity registered with the domestic state of California. So same entity can have a different basis in 50 states. For example, let us assume a client who have 10 different offices across 10 different states. Mostly you can, the best example to understand this state concept is that you are running a restaurant business, and you are present in New York also, you are present in California also, you are present in Illinois also, you are present in Delaware also. So technically, because you are present in 4 different states and your corporation is registered with a state, then you have to take 4 different registrations. Understand it like GST. Though you are registered under central regime, under Ministry of Corporate Affairs as a private limited company, but for the GST purposes, you are registering with different states. Even though your PAN number allotted to you is only one, which is by the income tax department or CBD. I'm using / income tax department is CBD. So the concept in United States also go the same way. Federal government is only one. You will get only one PAN number, which is known as employer identification number in the United States. But when it comes to company registration processes, you have to register in all those states where you have offices or where you are meeting some economic threshold requirements. There are some economic conditions also, which is an advanced knowledge base. But the powerful stuff here is that if you understand the concept that when do you need to take registration in a particular state, makes you a person who can give an advisory that, okay, for example, if a person comes to you that he's from an IT background, he is running a private limited company in India, and he comes to you that I want to open a company in Texas or Delaware or California, and he says that I want to open in Delaware because it is the most friendliest state, a person knows about it. So now he says to you that, but my corporate head office will be in California. I will be registering in Delaware, but I will have my office in California. Then the first thing which you will be clicking to your mind is that if you want to have a physical office in California, then you will also need to take a separate registration in California, which is, again, then it is not only one registration, there are 2 registrations. So entity formation is basic stuff because it's an easy process. Here you don't need any license, or there are no regulatory requirement on who can practice this. Even if you're a chartered accountant, if you're not chartered accountant, you can practice this, and you don't need any specific license from the US authorities or state authorities. So the 50 state, why I've written 50 states, because United States is a collection of 50 states. Like India, we have collection of multiple states. US is also collection of multiple states. They have 50. So entity formation, taking entity registration that I told you, forming another state. This is also very big compliance stuff which exists. Applying for an EIN is as good as a PAN number. This is a very simple process. Filling basic forms. These are KYC form, W8BAN, W8BAN 8832. These are all easy stuff. And definitely when you talk about on commercial term, you get a decent, you can have a decent revenue chain for these activities also. If you are only focusing on revenue chain, whether I will be able to create it as a revenue stream. Yes, definitely these are all revenue streams. These makes you a decent revenue. These are not very advanced stuff. These are not even intermediary stuff. But focusing on these areas also will help you to get your client converted. And at least what you can try to do is start your US tax practice or US outsourcing practice. Start from these areas, basic and intermediate. Then along with them, try to find out people who know advanced stuff. If you need advanced stuff help, take their help. If you are able to get some partners, for example, you know a friend who is working in this domain, doing a job, now you can both come together, start your own practice. That can also be done, who has an experience of advanced stuff or relatively more higher level of intermediate stuff. So that is also possible. Or a blend of services, that okay, taking third party services, for example, you give portfolio basic portfolio services such as entity formation, applying for EIN, you are making accounting and bookkeeping. But for tax returns, you might think that tax return is a complex affair, I don't know about the knowledge. Because the practical stuff goes in the market only this way, that you collaborate with persons for the stuff you don't know, but you start with those areas which you can comfortably deal with, which you know that there will be a chances of errors are comparatively lower as compared to those areas where it is the chances of error will be more. For example, if I talk about talking about indirect tax returns and registration, the chances you as a fresher might make a mistake is a higher chance as compared to accounting and bookkeeping. If you're doing accounting and bookkeeping, technically 80% or 90% of the accounting or bookkeeping is same across. You'll be able to manage 90% of the stuff in the United States. So the chances of error or mistakes are comparatively very low when you are dealing with tax returns. So tax returns require specialized knowledge because it's a law and you cannot modify law as per your need. And accounting and bookkeeping in the United States, 98% businesses in the United States are small and medium businesses. I am repeating, 98% business in the United States are SMBs. So what does it mean to an SMB? US GAAP does not apply onto 98% businesses. This is also one thing which I see. This is a very big mistake that young people or the people who want to enter into this area make. They just try to focus on, I want to learn US GAAP. There is no harm learning US GAAP. But whether it is a convertible area in terms of practice, yes, it is convertible, but low chances. Because when you are trying to cater only 2% of the market, then definitely your conversions will be very less. And if somebody is following US GAAP, then definitely if they are required to do so, then they are a big entity. They might be having all those facility in house, or they might be having some big firm doing their work, teaching them how to navigate with the US GAAP, how to do this stuff, how to do that stuff. Penetrating in those environments is very much difficult as compared to penetrating in those environments which are very much new. For example, dealing with a person who you already know. For example, you now tell to your client, to your existing client, that I have started my US outsourcing practice. They might say to you that, okay, I have this client, I have this return, I want to open a US company. Can you please help me with that? This is how you get started in a B2C practice. And also you get a hands-on experience. And there is no such thing, because it cannot go wrong. An entity formation, if you have done appropriate research, or if you have connected with the appropriate person, then entity formation is not a very tough task. 99% you are not going to get it wrong. It is a easy stuff. So focus on that stuff that you can make it easily, and then you try to increase those to intermediate areas, and then try to take it to advanced service portfolio. And again, it is not a sprint, that you cannot think that I will start today and within 1 year I can achieve all those things. Might be possible, not sure, but most likely it's a marathon. So you have to take step by step. You have to walk. You have to start through walking. Then you be running slow, because you have to learn. Being into a professional life, it becomes very challenging. That, and also we tend to lose patience. The patience is the biggest thing which I have seen personally in the new, from the last 7 batches. Whenever we talk to the existing members, there is one very big lack, which is always the lack of patience. That they do not want to patiently give time to a particular aspect. They just want to the click of the effort, that I am clicking it. I just want to have client and I just want to deliver. practically there is no magic key, or there is no magical key which just pulls in and give you outcome that okay, यहाँ पे client डाला और वहां से answer आएगा, ऐसे नहीं होता. So you have to make sure that you are doing it in a structured manner. So focus on accounting, bookkeeping, focus on entity formations, focus on applying EIN, focus on filling basic forms such as W8BEN, W8BENE. Try to do reconciliation services. In United States, major business is done through credit cards, Stripe, payment gateways, bank accounts. Reconcile all those things with the forms which are already experienced by working in India. It does not require some additional knowledge base. It is just that you have to do a thorough research so that you are aware of the terms which are prevailing in the United States. For example, if they say that payment gateways statement, then you must know that there could be Stripe, there could be PayPal. So understand more about US structure, how the US economy is structured, how it is going, what are the major players in the US economy which are serving major markets. For example, Stripe, PayPal, or might be you can see, for example, when you talk about reconciliation services, bank reconciliation, credit card reconciliations, you should ensure that you are asking these questions to your client that if somebody comes to you for accounting. And when you talk about advanced services, for example, it goes to income tax consultancy. In India also, if you want to do consultancy, you have to have a deep knowledge. For example, if somebody comes to you and they want capital gain understanding from you guys, or they want to have they are selling a property and they are asking that how can I save my capital gain taxes? This is a consultancy. You must have knowledge. You must have deep understanding of this particular area. Otherwise, how will you able to give the consultancy to them? So this also applies to the United States. Attestation function, it is a regulatory function. You must be a CPA to an attestation function. In United States, it is a very big area, specifically when we talk about estate and trust planning. In India, when somebody, for example, Mr. A and Mr. B, Mr. A is father, Mr. B is son, Mr. A departs from the earth, Mr. B inherits his property, then in such a case in India, there is no taxation impact because it is tax-free transfer. The inheritance or the inheritance will pass on to Mr. B without any tax implication because Mr. B is son of Mr. A. However, in the United States, inheritances or estates are technically not exempt. They are up to certain limit exempt. Beyond that, there has to be a proper tax planning. If otherwise, estate tax is high as 40%, and it starts from 18% to 40%. So this is a very big area, but normally not everybody is interested in this area. These are from high net worth individuals. Somebody is having money, then only they will try to pass it on to their next generation without paying any taxes. Otherwise, if somebody is having money below a certain limit, for example, in United States, currently the limit is $13 million approximately. Till the time it's $13 million approximately. If $13 million of assets you already have, then you don't have to worry. Beyond it, you have to think about estate and trust planning. But again, it's a very big area, and you might, if you are long enough into this industry, you will feel that some cases will definitely come on to you. Nexus study, because there are 50 states in United States, there are 50 income tax laws, there are 50 state income tax and state sales tax laws. So in United States, there is a federal income tax, and again there is a state income tax. In India, you don't see a state income tax, but in United States, you definitely see a state income tax. So the nexus means connection. Each state wants their fair share of income taxes. How that fair share is allocated, that is known as nexus study reports. So this is again a very big area, which an entity which is into 10 states have to do it for 10 different states. Transfer pricing we have in India also, we have in US also. Virtual CFO services, international tax forms, international tax reporting. These are some complex areas, but gradually you can definitely reach on to that, starting from basic areas, intermediate areas, and then going on to advanced topics. Now, again, I have tried to cover some areas you can excel as a chartered accountant in outsourcing practice because you definitely have a good brain. Definitely, that is why you are a chartered accountant. And you also know how to read the law, how to interpret the law. So these could be some areas you can try to initially, because when you read about tax law, it's a huge thing. But what are the areas which are most popular in India? Outsourcing practices which mostly come to India. Business structuring is definitely an area which I personally prefer is of a huge capacity, and I think it's a huge opportunity for a person with an Indian CA background, because US knowledge, when India knowledge, it makes you replaceable in sense. For example, you can also guide your clients that which US state you have to choose, which type of entity you can form, how to navigate FAMA laws when it comes to India, specifically the FAMA laws, because FAMA laws is a very unique situation in India, which you do not face in United States. And navigating FAMA laws in India, if you know how to navigate FAMA laws, you can ensure your client to be compliant 100% in India also and 100% in US also. This is the practical area which we are working into. So we know that how strong it is, and we haven't. There are very few people which we have personally seen in our practice of like 7-8 years now, who know FAMA laws also, who knows Indian income tax laws also, and who knows US tax laws also, or state laws also for company formation. It makes a very good and a very deadly combination that you will not be easily get so much of knowledge base in a particular firm or in a particular person. So this could be a very big area. So that is why I have covered it here. You can also advise to clients for tax structure. For United States have a very, like, if you want to learn more about tax structures and all those things, ICI outsourcing batch, if you have already checked that batch, it is good. If not, then you can also try to check that batch and you can join that batch. There, these structured LLC elections and tax year change is also discussed in detail. And C corporate taxation, major entities in the United States are pass-through and then C corporation. And specifically C corporations, when you are dealing with Indian investors or Indian persons who are having their entities in the United States, majorly they will be formed as a C corporation, because it has certain restrictions. Having a pass-through entity in US might not be so much a good decision when it comes to Indian tax law, because that entity will also be required to be taxed in India. So C corporate taxation is a very huge area, very remunerative, very rewarding. So when you are trying to do taxation, first try to focus on corporate taxation and then try to focus on pass-through entity taxation. Pass-through entity taxation is more popular in small businesses. For example, an individual person want to establish a US entity, they will try to do it as a sole member LLC. They will try to prefer sole member LLC. We have seen many individuals coming on to you saying that I have a sole member LLC there. I want to file a tax return, any compliance requirement. So very small business and sole member LLCs and C corporation. These are the two big areas if you are trying to pitch clients from India. This is my personal experience. You definitely, if you don't have a physical base into the United States, trying to pitch US clients directly is a difficult task, or sometimes a task which will lead you to more failures than success. The client, because again, the client is trusting you with your financial information, client is trusting you with your entity information. So the physical touch sometimes is more relevant in conversion of a client. I'm not saying that client do not convert virtually. Majorly all the practices which we do are virtual practices. But how you start finding the clients is also a very strategic area. You will start directly looking for an American client. It will be a very difficult task because of the jurisdiction. You are not in the United States. Client cannot physically meet you there. Developing a trust in directly a US-based client is a bit more difficult than developing a trust in an Indian client. So, for example, an Indian client who is your existing client, or who is friend or relative of your existing clients, come to you that I want to open a US entity. Can you help me with that? That assignment will be converted more easily as compared to a virtual person sitting in the United States who don't know you. It becomes difficult and challenging at that point of time. So this is how you can excel yourself. Try to focus more on corporate taxation, or focus on sole member LLCs taxation. Try to brush up your knowledge and skill set on how to give assistance on company formation, as well as helping them to apply for a company, apply for EAN, and brush up your FEMA knowledge. Definitely, this will lead you to client, because whenever you will get your first client, when you're giving the correct advice to them, definitely they will stick on to with you. And this is again an experience from our previous batches students, because they are being connected to us they come to us. I give them the same advice which I'm giving it to you. They get clients, they do convert them. They are trying to deal it. They did not know FEMA thing. They even did not know that FEMA was applicable. I just told them that just check FEMA, just check what is ODI, and then definitely we know particular members of the institute who are actually started their own practice with 1 or 2 clients. They have started their base. So this is practically happening. This is not something that this is not going to happen. This is going to happen. Again, so this is again a very big area which you must be aware of when you are providing services. What are the requirements you must be aware of? So it does not mean that, for example, in India, if you want to do a tax practice, chartered accountancy is a plus, but there is no regulatory requirement for you being a chartered accountant to do a tax practice as per Indian income tax laws. And in Indian income tax law, you don't need a separate license also to do this. There is a thing which is known as tax return preparer, but technically that is not very much followed, I believe, here in India. But again, there's no separate license you need to take from income tax department or anywhere, and you have to start their own business practices. So I have bifurcated and tried to bifurcate in the areas which are most popular in India and which are prevailing, which are also this is the series where you don't need any special license versus you need a special license. So for example, when you're dealing in consultancy or advisory business, you don't need any specific license. Business structuring, income tax structuring, sales tax structuring, or consulting or advisory, you don't need any specific license. You are a CA with a good knowledge base, it is fine. You are a CPA with a good knowledge base, it is okay. But you don't need any special license. You don't have to be registered with United States authorities to give these advices. It's between you and client. You know that how to give this advice. You know this is your forte. You can give this advice. But when you come up to income tax return preparation, this is governed by certain regulations by the Internal Revenue Service, which is as good as income tax department in the United States. You must have a PTI number, preparer taxpayer identification number, PTIN number. You must have if you are filing an income tax return, you must have an IFIN number. There are certain requirements. If you have a PTIN, then monitor your PTIN. There is a PTIN, there is a portal named as Tax Pros portal. There you can go, you can check. You can also check that, okay, these are the returns, the number of returns which are filed under my PTIN. You can see that because you have to check it mandatorily because somebody might use your PTIN number and file the return. So you must be ensuring that no fraud happens with your PTIN number. ensure compliance with publication 4557, which is safeguarding taxpayer data. For example, if I show you here as safeguarding taxpayer data, these are all publicly available. These are publicly available safeguarding taxpayers data. So this is a publication which is provided by the IRS. They give guidelines to you. This is a guide for your business that if you are doing a tax practice business, then how you are going to safeguard your taxpayers data. Because in United States, taxpayer data is of utmost importance. You should not take it lightly whenever it is in terms of protecting your taxpayer data. That is why security infrastructure is more important. You might be working as a freelancer on your single laptop. You might be working in a smaller space, but working with a proper security infrastructure and security measures in place is more important. If you dream big, if you want to have a big firm into your place, if you want to have big outsourcing practice into your place, physical infrastructures do matter, and security even matters more because currently you are the only one who is using the data. When your staff is also using the data, it becomes more important and challenging to protect security of your taxpayers' data, such as their social security number, their date of birth, their financial data, their credit card information, their banking information. You might have all these data with you. Till the time you are the sole person, you can manage it yourself, but you must ensure that you are taking basic steps. For example, having an antivirus software is just a basic step which they will write. Securing your wireless network, they are also giving you the ways how you can do this. How you can spot data theft, how you can monitor your EFIN/PTIN, how you can recognize what is a phishing scam, whether it looks like a phishing scam, what to do, and what is the step if there is a data loss, then what you have to do. What is this FTC safeguard rules? You have to make sure that you follow with all those things. There is a concept which has been introduced since 2024, which has the IRS has made it mandatory, which is known as Return Information Security Plan (WISP). All the entities which are dealing in tax return business in the United States must have a WISP. So these are regulatory requirements which you must be meeting. If you don't meet these, you having an outsourcing practice, a sustainable practice, is a practical challenge. However, there is no requirement for having an accounting practice. You can do accounting and bookkeeping. There are no, because IRS only deals with income tax returns. They don't deal with accounting and bookkeeping. So there is no technical restriction from IRS on how do you do accounting business or a bookkeeping business or a consulting or advisory business. So there are no guidelines. However, protecting taxpayer data is a general thing. You can use IRS guideline or any other guidelines from National Institute of Security, NIST, NISF. You can use anything specifically. And when you will read it here, the IRS has also given references of the publications which they have used in framing these regulations. So this must be a very important thing, that how you can obtain an EFIN. There is a publication how you can obtain an EFIN. This is the publication 3112. How you can obtain an EFIN is also a regulatory requirement. Without this, you cannot e-file the tax return. For example, this is also a practical case which I am telling you. People take the return. Our members itself have done these errors. Though we tell them in the batches also that without EFIN you cannot file, sometimes they overlook and they take the return from a client, and then it comes. So this is a practical experience which we can share. So a member of the institute can come to came suddenly on a particular date that I want to file an extension of the income tax return. How can I do that? I told him that whether you have an accounting or tax return filing software. He said I don't have one. I said you have an EFIN number. He said I don't have one. I said that then go and try to use IRS free e-file extension service if it is an individual return, or then you have to go to a paid website where you can do a corporate income tax extension, return extension. He went there, he was not able to do it. Then, because he was not having an EFIN, he was not having any account tax return software, and he was not aware of this e-filing stuff. Though he was a student of our batch, but he overlooked somehow. Because sometimes people in hurry overlook the things which we say, that these are the prerequisite. So you must also ensure that when you are trying to establish your own accounting price, these are the most important areas. You get your client, but you are not able to e-file the return, then how will you do the thing? You cannot ask the client that, hey, I am giving you the paper copy, you get it filed somewhere else. That is not going to work. So this is restriction on tax practice. That is why I always try to communicate to the freshers or the people who are entering into this industry. Till the time you don't have an EFIN number, either collaborate with someone who have an EFIN number, work with them, whether you transfer your case to them, whether you work on referrals, or whether you work on an associate basis with them, that both are working together. Try focusing on those areas which do not have any regulatory requirements, such as, again, going on to this part, entity formation, no regulatory requirement, accounting and bookkeeping, no regulatory requirement, reconciliation services, no regulatory requirement. Try to do consultancies, no regulatory requirement. You don't need any license. Yeah, having a CPA degree can be another stuff. There are two types of education you can take. One is enroll agent, one is certified public accountant. Certified public accountant is as good as a chartered accountant we do in India. They are US based CAs. Or EA is a special course which is administered by IRS. It's a course which is given by the Internal Revenue Service, managed by examination is also taken by the Income Tax Department in the United States. And examination happens in India also. No need to worry if somebody is planning to give, they can give in India also. EA. So enroll agent, or they give you authority, or they give you some credibility when you are dealing in the United States sphere. As you are dealing in India, you are a chartered accountant, give you immense credibility when you are dealing in income tax laws in India. The same way, if you are an enroll agent or a CPA, it gives you much more credibility when you are dealing with B2C clients. Again, I am telling you, when you are dealing with B2C clients, it is more important. When you are dealing with B2B, it is not important, and there is no restriction on a chartered accountant to do a tax practice in the United States. Anybody can do a tax practice in the United States. even a graduate student from India can do. So there is no issue with that. You don't have to be a CPA or EA. It is just that a EA can also represent the client in front of IRS, like a chartered accountant can represent the client in front of income in front of CIT or ITAT. The same way, if you want to have a representation service also, having a PTIN will not allow you to get a representation. If you want to have, well, if you want to go into appeals, if you want to represent your client in front of IRS or appellate authorities there, then you have to be a enrolled agent bare minimum, or a CPA or an attorney. Attorney is as good as a lawyer we have in India. So these are the stuff which we must understand then when we are trying to make our own accounting and outsourcing practice. This way it is help. How to find accounting work is definitely Giri will be taking more aspects onto that, so I'm leaving this as of now. But yeah, definitely how you can acquire knowledge base, I can touch base upon it. You can use the best way to do is I always refer IRS official material. These are not going to cost you anything. It is just that you have to go on IRS websites. You have to check IRS publication, and it is not as difficult to find. For example, you just go IRS publications list. You will get all the publications here itself. Publications IRS. You just have to type on Google. IRS has a very nice website navigation stuff. So you will get all the publications which are there. Even if you want to know, for example, if you want to learn more about corporations, IRS corporation tax publication, just write random search. I'm not doing this search as a very thing. Just you have to write normal search. Then IRS publication will automatically show as a Google result. Publication 542. What is this publication for? About corporations. Business tax test corporation formed before. You will get all the things you want to know about corporation, and what is the penalty for late filing, how to calculate estimate tax, what are the accounting method, accrual method accounting, cash method accounting, what are the accounting periods. Once you know, you don't have to go and you have to find a proper book on CPA or a EA or a tax law book to read. IRS has a very beautiful system of making publications. Whatever they want to tell to normal crowd, they make it as a publication. It's a measure of transparency, which is done by the IRS end. So you can just go, these are all available in PDF version. You want to take a print out of it, you can take a print out of it, read it at your convenience. Only 27-page publication. And these are more important because you will be able to get all the relevant information at a single place. And that too from a most authenticated source. Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service. You will not get a more authenticated source than this. So these are very authenticated sources you can use, you can follow. You can also have IRS bulletins, IRS websites. The second most I personally recommend to people to get knowledge in a faster manner is follow some reputed journals, Journal of Accountancy, the Tax Advisor. For example, if we are talking about the Tax Advisor, it's a very good journal. I follow it a lot. So you can become a member of you can also become a member to get an e-copy of it, because digital issue is not available for free to access. But whenever you click on this digital issue, you will go to the Tax Advisor. If you are a member of tax section already, then you can log in here and you can take this, or you can become a member of tax section. It's just like a membership. It's a AICPA membership. You don't have to be a CPA to be a member of AICPA. You can become a AICPA member. You just have to pay the annual fees which they ask for. And section memberships are a bit extra chargeable. I think they will charge $215 for tax section membership per year. And if you are also trying to take all the overall membership of AICPA without any tax membership, then also there are some certain charges. But for example, see, the article is on AICPA comments on proposed regulation on new transfer pricing method. If somebody wants to learn more about transfer pricing, there is an article you can just write here. Search on transfer pricing, you will get the list of articles. If you want to learn more about corporation, just click on corporation. All articles, deductions, reorganization, income reporting, and filing requirements. This is a very good website which I recommend everybody to look at least if you are a fresher or if you are just starting. So brush up your knowledge, take the help of these websites, the materials which are provided by IRS to get this seep into yourself. And then you will be able to do consultancies, and you will be able to serve clients in a good manner. And formal study courses like CPA, EA, which I've already told you. graduation, post-graduation is also an option. Go to a US university, take some grad, post-grad courses, or you can also become, like, post-grad courses are good. You can also become expert in tax law, so you can also join a law school to become an international tax law expert or some expert. Books and printed materials, if you want, not highly recommended. I don't recommend these very much because the books are quite costlier also in terms of when you talk about in Indian rupees, because you all will be investing in Indian rupees. And also, there is not very much material available as we have in India. When you talk about chartered accountancy materials in India, we have a lot of publications. There are a lot of materials available from private authors. But in United States, private authors are not which are more prominent. It is the publication house which are more prominent. For example, in India, when you want to refer a tax law book, the name will come to in your mind is like Dr. Girish Ahuja, Vinod Singhania. I think these are a few people as you who you want to refer to. In United States, you will not get a upfront name. Instead, you will say that okay, try to find out Walter Kluwer publication or Lexis Orbis publication. These are good publication houses which are or you if you want to start with a very some layman type of book, then Wiley is also a good publication. They have some certain publications specifically in terms of they have a brand in terms of JK Lesser. You can these are books which are available for general people, not for tax professionals. They also write books for tax professionals. If you want, you can buy that also. But these are books which are available in India also. Amazon delivers it to your home, not very much expensive, very much in reasonable range. And you can have what you want to start as a novice or a fresher. You want to know about income taxes. There are 3-4 series of JK Lesser. This is a Wiley brand. You can use these also. This is a good book for freshers. So books and printed materials have. So these are also available. Again, so these are how you can acquire the skill set. So the skill set you can acquire, you can join an existing organization. You can do a job for example 1 or 2 years, take the knowledge. In the meantime, you can try to do the networking opportunities at various places, because without networking, work will not flow so easily. You cannot deny the power of networking at any point of time. Like, you cannot get work just because you are knowledgeable enough. You have to have the networking skill set also. If you do not possess yourself the networking skill set or the marketing skill set, partner with somebody who has, because normally how the chart accountant normally do not get work is biggest problem. The biggest reason, which I think, it is my personal opinion, that the networking, we are not open to admit that we are not so much good at networking. So for example, if I admit that I am not so much good at networking, I will at least try to find other ways how I can network. Can I partner with somebody who is having a good network, or can I work as a consultant with somebody who is having a base in the United States or having a good network? So understand your weaknesses. If you're not good at something, try to learn it. If you're not good at networking, try to learn from experts that how to do network, or try to learn from the people who have already been into this network. Because these type of networks are not open-ended networks. These are closed networks. So you will not have an open access to a network. For example, you will not get an open access to AICPA network base, or for example, or a professional organization network base. These are all closed networks. So closed network requires you to have network with those people who are into those networks, so that you get an access to those people also. So either join an organization to learn the executionary aspect if you are dreaming of, or if you want to start your own executionary firm, that you want to start your own firm and as an outsourcing firm. Then what do you do for an outsourcing? For example, a CPA firm wants to give you a work or outsourcing. You have to know how to file, how to prepare an income tax return. You must know how to prepare paperwork. You must know what are the requirements, security requirements of the data. Then only somebody will give you the work. If you don't have the relevant requirements into place, no, getting work is very difficult. So that
Manishji,
there are two areas. And then if you want to have skill sets, then you can have like if you want to have accounting skill sets, like you can do QPO Pro Advisor, you can learn QPO, you can learn into his tax softwares, you can refer YouTube videos, how to apply for EIN, how to form a company in Delaware. These are all freely available materials, and you can see and you can replicate those, and you can instantly serve your clients. There is no rocket science in that.
sorry to interrupt, Manit.
Yes.
We'll have to wrap this first session in maybe
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I think 5 minutes is enough.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah. So like again, this is a business function decision that you have to do very wisely. Whether you want to engage into client fetching side of business, or you want to engage into operational side of business. Outsourcing practice generally is driven by operational function, but it does not mean that you are not focusing on client fetching. Because, for example, if you're trying to onboard a CPA firm with you to work, to give you the work, then definitely you must know what are their requirements. For example, they will need you to be technically sound. They will definitely be expecting you to be aware of the US tax laws or US regulatory requirements. Without that, the conversation will not go on a positive direction. So having marketing function, consider it as like a BD function. So either, like in companies, we have chief marketing officer or chief business development officer, this type of role, that you must know that even if you look at big firms or like big CA firms or mid-sized CA firms, people are into marketing and networking. They try to connect with each other as much as possible. ICI events or like facilities, like I think ICI has also launched a APO portal recently. You can use that. Definitely, you will not get a short-term result, but definitely being there for a long time will definitely lead you some positive outcomes. Events like BOFA or whatever the ICI will be planning in near future, these events get you to being in touch with more people, more fellow people who are looking forward to work to do. Definitely, this is a time investment, but this is not a time investment which will go into vain. Again, operational efficiency and function. That is why sole person CA firms or sole person practitioners are not so much, because till the time they are free with their operational duties, marketing opportunities technically goes away. So having partners across will definitely help you, so that somebody's managing your operational function, somebody is actually a CEO of your company, chief operating officer, they are all managing client operations. Somebody is technically, the role of a particular partner is you meet with people, you connect with people. Definitely this will be a time intensive exercise, but it will be a paying off exercise. So you have to decide that you want to be into both of the function. For example, if you think that I am not a marketing guy, I don't like to talk to people, or I talk to people, I'm not able to convince them or convert them. If you think you are like of that particular person, then B2B is the best option for you. Connect with B2B guys. Don't try. If you will try to do B2C business there, you will not be as much as successful. If you, how much you would be into a B2B success, B2B network. So try to find out B2B networks, try to get more work from there, focus on operational efficiency and effectiveness. And there are many people who are more oriented towards marketing function. You can collaborate with those persons. These are not might be big firms. These are like sole practitioners which are scattered around the domain or our industry or our CA friends and communities. You can do this. So it's a business function decision. You want to be into both or you want to do one. So this is like thing that you have knowledge base, you have skill sets, plus you have a client base, you have a successful outsourcing practice. So this is technically which like I would like to conclude on, and how to network, how to do these things. Giri will be taking care of those things, and he will be discussing with you all those things in detail. And definitely we can also take up the questions if anybody of you are having. But the major thing is understand, start from first step. Don't try to jump on number 10 directly. So if it's a 1 to 10 timeline or a 1 to 10 step process, try to start from basic things and see, well begun is half done. This is one saying. And the second saying is that Rome was not built in a day. So we have to understand that these two things really work, because you are not trying to do work for 2 years or 3 years. If you're trying to do it for 10 years, 15 years, then see, 2 or 3 years is a very short period of time when you are looking forward to 10, 15, 20 years. So always try to be into the game with that mindset that I want to play for 20 years. I'm not here for somebody. I came here and I got out in next 3 years, or I just want to, you are not a momentum trader. You want to be a value trader. So if you want to be a value person, then focus on long term. Try to start from initial steps. Try to build your capabilities. Try to do networking. Try to bring partners with you, and then definitely it's going to be a very successful area, because it is currently for many people. We are already being into this domain. Many people are already working into this domain. They are successfully running this thing, and this domain has still lot of potential is there into this domain. And on that note, I'll definitely be giving it to Rishi again. Yeah, thank you, Rishi. You can take it forward.
Thank you, Maneet. The way you simplified the complex topics, I mean, that's really great. And right from the PTIN or EFIN compliances to the business function choices. Thank you so much. And yes, any practice that we build, any business that we build is a long-term game. So yeah, thank you. Up next, we have CA Girinath G. Tave, a professional who has truly worn many hats in the world of finance. He started his journey at Deloitte, gaining hands-on experience in audits, SOX compliance, and internal controls across industries like tech and healthcare. Later, he co-founded DigiMoney Finance, where he helped secure an RBI license and played a key role in scaling the fintech company across multiple states. Today, he is the director at ACC Source, leading a team of over 650 professionals, delivering top-tier outsourcing solutions to clients across the globe. Beyond the operations and business, he is also a passionate educator, teaching export entrepreneurship and valuation at ICAI CDITS WTO Directorate, and has been a speaker at landmark ICA events. With his rich blend of entrepreneurial spirit and global exposure, Girinath brings practical insights, inspiring stories, and actionable strategies to every conversation. Please join me in welcoming CA Girinath Chitabe.
Thank you so much, Rishi. Thanks for all your wonderful words and a very pleasant introduction. Thank you so much, Manit. Definitely, your session has been very knowledge and also resonates the deep insights that you carry on every particular field. So, with the precarious task of completing everything in the next 37 minutes, we will definitely dwell into today's session. And as mentioned by Rishi, I'm also a director in a company called Axos. We are a Chennai headquartered company. So predominantly it's a chartered account driven company. All our founders have been chartered accountants, and we are a 650 people strong company. We are building our own, and our target markets are Australia, US, UK, and a bit of Middle East. So we are also focusing on accounting practices, audit practices, mortgage brokers, bookkeepers, tax consultants, and valuation firms, etc. So this is a bit about myself, and I am a chartered accountant, and I was previously with Deloitte. DigiMoney Finance is also one other company that I run, and I am a part of the director and leadership board there. So with this, we will get into today's topic. And the topic that has been allocated to me is that in the US sphere of things, how do you identify or potentially reach out to clients, target markets, and how do you start a conversation with them? So this is our topic for today, and we are going to spend the next 36 minutes on this particular topic. I'll start with a very small presentation.
Just think, we have received a lot of questions from the audiences, so I think we should address them as well. And just a note here, Giri, we have over 1,700 members live right now.
Fantastic! To very glad and very happy to hear that, Rishi. So we definitely, this particular webinar has been pulling a lot of attention, has been grabbing a lot of attention across the CA sphere, and we are also hoping that more and more chartered accountants also get into our stream of outsourcing world. So I'll just set a context in what is my philosophy in terms of chartered accountancy, in terms of what is that outsourcing that we can look at. Yes, everyone would be aware in terms of what are the various possible outsourcing avenues, what are the various possible outsourcing networkings that are available. However, I would like to highlight one pertinent thing that the institute is trying to solve. Across the globe, we as global accountants, we are seeing a particular scheme of shortage of skilled resources, be it on the accountancy side, be it on the engineering side, or be it on any particular professional services. This particular shortage is what we are trying to address. Institute through the webinars, Institute through the outsourcing services course, Institute through the newly launched website that Manit was saying, Institute through this particular CDIT department is trying to see when there is a complete shortage of resources across the globe in terms of accounting and finance professionals, and we are able to churn out more and more chartered accountants who are very young and who can also play the hat of a global accountant. They are trying to bridge the gap between the problem and a possible solution in terms of a particular offering. And towards that offering is what we are able to see that the institute is taking out or churning out a lot of actions and activities to bridge that gap. One such activity is today's webinar, where the institute is trying to reach out to the global chartered accountants, Indian chartered accountants at large, to say that, hey, there is a big gap between the skilled resource required and the skilled resource that is actually available for disposal. So it is, if we chartered accountants are able to cling on to this particular problem, and if we are able to ensure that we are able to reach out and provide the possible set of services, then we would be able to navigate our outsourcing services and become not just a chartered accountant, but a global accountant. So with this, we will start with today's session. And this is myself. So today we are going to talk about approaching potential clients and partners. So as a backdrop, I would like to state that it is not sufficient if we are able to reach out to one particular client. We need to reach out to as many clients as possible. And at the same time, what strategy works for you might not work for another practice or another company, or the what strategy was being utilized for converting a possible lead into a client might not be the same or successful in converting another possible lead or client. So this is where we need to bring in a proper infrastructure and ecosystem in place, and we need to adhere to the best practices that is available. So this best practices and the potential do's and don'ts is what we are going to cover in today's session. So while approaching the potential clients and partners, I have kind of bifurcated our presentation into three topics. One is identifying target clients. Second is what are the effective outreach strategies. Third is the importance of building initial connections. So let us look at what are the ways in which we can identify target clients. So again, in identifying target clients, we have three particular slides that we want to identify. So before you identify a particular target client, or you go and optimize this is the target market that you are going to reach out to, we need to understand what is the target services that, or what are the possible services that we are going to render. For that, we need to identify our own niche, where our skill sets truly resonate. Are we good in bookkeeping, or do we have a practice that is good in taxation? Can we resonate with international taxation? Or is it that we are good in valuations and mergers and acquisitions? Can we explore that area? So we need to look at what are the various available options that are available from an outsourcing perspective, and at the same time, which is that particular set of offerings that we would be able to potentially scale up basis our niche, our potential, our infrastructure, and our technical requirements. Then once we understand that what are the particular types of activities or possible areas where we can explore upon, we also need to understand who are our potential competitors, what are their service offerings, what are the ways in which they are already available in the market, what are the various SWOT analysis that we are able to take away from them. So then comes the client profiling. Are we looking at large scale clients? Are we looking at MSMEs? Are we looking at fast, rapidly growing clients? So there are various parameters. So we will cover these three particular subtopics in the coming slides. So while identifying your niche, we will start with what are the various conventional services that we usually render. Usually when we talk about outsourcing services, or when we talk about B2B back office services, then these are possible outsourcing services that we usually render upon. First is financial statement preparation and schedules. Taxation and complaints, it could include your individual tax returns, your trust tax returns, your company tax returns, various disclosure requirements, etc. Working capital management, it could be your cash flow statement preparation, it could be your fund flow statement preparation, it could be your monthly reporting, it could be your dashboard, MIS, etc. Payroll management, as Manit was saying, payroll usually outside India, it is either fortnightly or it is weekly. So what are the various stuff that we need to do from a payroll processing, from a payroll complaints, payroll disclosures, etc. Asset management services, it could be portfolio analysis, it could be your fixed asset management, or it could be your intangible assets management, etc. Software migration, helping clients to move from one particular software, moving their data from one particular software to another, stuff like that. Valuation services, very interesting area. It will also include your mergers and acquisitions, it will also include your due diligences, etc. Project management services, it could be your budgeting, forecasting, etc. So these are some of the conventional services or areas that we usually look at. Now, while we are identifying the niche, and when we are looking at these conventional services, it is not necessary as a practice or as a business that you will have to get into every such service or every such activity. You might pick up financial statements preparations, bookkeeping, and taxation, and just leave the rest of it. Few people would only look at valuation services because that is where their target technical skill sets and niche are. Few people would only take up payroll management and working capital management. So these are the possible areas or avenues that you can explore from an outsourcing perspective. These are conventional services. Now let us look at the various emerging services. The first one is ESG, whereby the social governance that has been taking across the globe, and it is a very niche area whereby you will have, it could include your carbon accounting, it could include your disclosures, it could include your carbon footprint. There are a lot of new disclosures and requirements that are evolving in a ESG front. Consulting or advisory could include your virtual CFO services. It could include your value chain analysis. It could include your process improvement. It could include your ICOFR. Lot of such things that can be included in consulting or advisory. Mortgage broking, it is again a very traditional field, but from an outsourcing perspective, mortgage broking and financial planning has been evolving for the last couple of years. Paralegal, business automation, and Gen AI. So when it comes to Gen AI, there is a lot of new developments that are happening in this particular field of Gen AI. So what are the various services that we can cater to are some areas of discussion. So first particular step whenever you're starting any outsourcing firm is to understand what are the various services offerings that are available. What of those services, which are those services that we would be interested or we would be okay to invest our time into. So first understand your niche, identify those services, and start working and developing on those services. Next, once we are clear in terms of what are the various services that we are looking to offer, then we will have to go a bit deep into the market in terms of analyzing our competitors. What are the various strengths of your existing competition? What is the level of competition? Is it a entry stage, or is it a kind of a mature stage of competition? is it okay if as a new entrant to start in a particular industry where the competition is high? Is there an available market share? Understanding the TAM, etc. Then comes your what are the various strengths of your competitors, what are their weakness, how can you develop yourself in terms of as a edge over your competition. Once you are done with your SWOT analysis, then comes your client profiling. Many outsourcing firms are categorized depending upon whom they serve. For example, we can talk about an outsourcing firm like Genpact. We can talk about an outsourcing firm like EYGDS, Deloitte Global Services. We can talk about a firm like Axos. We can talk about various other outsourcing firms. They will all get categorized depending upon the various client and target clients that they are reaching out to. For example, if the size, you can categorize the various competitors depending on the client size that they are reaching out to. If they are reaching out to large MNCs or large conglomerates, then the number of transactions could be very, very voluminous, and those would be categorized into one particular bucket. It could be the likes of Accenture, it could be the likes of Genpact, it could be the likes of Capgemini, it could be the likes of Sutherland. So these are one set of clientele. Then if we are reaching out to SMEs, then this would be a particular likes in terms of Axos, it could be in terms of Be Free, it could be in terms of Boss. So there are various other clients, various other competitors who are reaching out to small and medium enterprises in this particular segment. Then comes your industry. You can also categorize, or you can also categorize the client in terms of what are the various technological requirements at the client's end, what are the various accounting requirements at the client's end, and what are the various statutory requirements. Depending upon these skill sets and profiling, you can also then start to choose your target market. Do you want to get yourself into a highly tech enabled market, or do you want to choose yourself into a low tech enabled market? Accounting requirements, like the way Manit was saying, not necessarily or most probably, except for your large conglomerates and for large companies which are listed, most of the companies do not follow IFRS. So then what are the various accounting requirements? Are they following US GAAP? Are they following IFRS? Or is they just following a generally accepted accounting principle which is common across the globe? There is nothing called just a GAAP, but are they only trying to follow the basic accounting principles? So you can also categorize and target your clientele depending upon the accounting requirements. Then comes your business challenges. Which phase of business are they into? Are they into kind of matured phase? Are they into scaling up phase, etc.? Outsourcing need. So the first three things are typically we understanding our potential markets, our target markets, and trying to say that, okay, I will reach out to only a small and medium enterprise, which is high on technology and very, very common on accounting requirements, and they are into a kind of a growth phase. It could be a good type of target market to reach out to. But what are the outsourcing requirements or needs of that business should also be analyzed. Are they trying to outsource common tasks? It could be bookkeeping, repetitive tasks like payroll. They can also be reaching out to you in terms of due diligence. So what are the needs for which these potential clients are reaching out to you? So this is a wrap of the first module, whereby what we are trying to say is that we need to identify our own niche, which particular area or which particular service offerings that do we need to look into. What we need to analyze, who are the various competitors in the particular field. Then we need to start looking at the various client profiles Are we trying to reach out to client SMEs? Are we trying to reach out to large enterprises, etc.? So usually in my classes that I take for the institute for the first 7 batches, I always say to most of the peers that please reach out and do a B2B model, whereby reach out from a business to business model and not from a business to client model. For example, reaching out to the CPA firm or mortgage broking firm or a kind of a accounting firm or a bookkeeping firm, taxation firm will mandate the same amount of efforts from converting that particular firm as your target client as that of reaching out to an end individual or end practice, whereby you might in the later instance you might receive a work for a particular bookkeeping service or for a particular taxation, which could be yearly once. But if you are successful in converting one particular CPA firm or a particular set of bookkeepers, then you would be reaching or tapping the end clients of those CPA firms or bookkeeping firms. So that is why I always keep saying to everyone that we need to reach out or build a scalable B2B model and not a B2C model. So with this, we will move on to the next module in terms of what are the various effective outreach strategies. So first we will look at the various best practices. We will then talk about what is the necessary or requirement to build strategic partnerships, what are the various networking techniques that we can apply upon, and what are the various compelling value propositions that you can bring to the table which can help you to convert a client or which can help you to move a potential lead to a potential client stage. So let us look at the various outreach strategies. So when it comes to outreach strategies, the first thing is the best practices that we told that we will talk upon. So we have kind of put the various best practices in a particular slide. I have just jammed it across in a particular slide. So I will go one by one on the various strategies. First fundamental approach should be you need to reach out to a particular set of a client, or you need to reach out to a particular community of client through various approaches. Single channel approach will not give you the adequate success with that of a multi-channel approach. So what do we mean by multi-channel approach? Multi-channel approach is nothing but we reaching out to a set of potential clients through various channels. It could be email marketing, it could be a social media outreach, it could be through attending industry events, it could be through cold calling, it could be through reaching them to their clients or to their friends and families. So you need to have a multi-channel approach. So many of them ask me that, Giri, so why do you think that multi-channel approach works? For a simple fact that you reaching out to a potential B2B client is nothing but you trying to win his trust. In an outsourcing environment or outsourcing industry, we say that we don't own 300 clients. We own trust of 300 practices or individuals. If it is an individual practice, we own the trust of 300 individual practices. If we run multi-partner practices, then we own the trust of 300 such practices. So we are not doing just a kind of a service whereby we will just deliver what they need. Yes, we need to deliver what they need, but beyond that, we need to ensure that their data is safe and secure. We also ensure that we put their requirements, their logistics, their thought process far ahead than what we want to achieve. So that is why to win a trust of any particular individual or particular practice, a single channel approach will be not adequate, we need to reach out to them on a persistent basis, whereby perseverance will only help perseverance will only help you to convert or potentially reach out to targeted success. Okay. Next particular strategy is that always have a particular target communication. Do not have a kind of a lucid or kind of a general conversation or communication with any potential clients or potential leads. Always be a step ahead, do your homework right, research well, highlight what are the various synergies that is possible, and make the proposal a bit personalized one. Reach out to them and make it tailor make it to look and to feel that this particular proposal is a personalized one, whereby the outsourcing party gets a feeler that you have understood this business, and potentially you would be the best outsourcing firm to deliver this business. Then next particular strategy comes in terms of value proposition. So first understand the core values of your outsourcing firm, and also reach out, understand what are the various core values propositions because of which your potential client or potential lead comes for outsourcing. Then comes your deep social media connect. So we are all living in a kind of a world whereby social media drives our thought processes. If you are looking to get yourself into any outsourcing practice or outsourcing world, then have a deep social media connect. Networking and relationship building, this is a very important one. We will also definitely cover more about networking and relationship building in the coming slides. Always be persistent and do timely consistent follow-ups. Okay, we were talking about networking and relationship building. One of the important things why we need to build partnerships is there are various reasons because of which an outsourcing firm might be successful. But one of the most pertinent reason is that if they are able to forge a solid partnership at a local level, then the gestation period comes down very low, and the possibility of success is also high when you have successful local partnerships. So let us look at the various benefits of building a good partnership. It definitely increases visibility and credibility, because once you have a local partnership in place, any accounting firm or the audit firm that is looking to outsource, they will also have a sense of security that there is someone who understands the technicalities and the communication aspect of it. It also helps you to reach to new clients, brand association, risk mitigation, resource scaling. So these are some of the important reasons because of which you need to build the partnerships. Networking techniques. So we were talking about networking. So why do you essentially have to network? Networking is nothing but reaching out to potential clients or potential target clients. Keep reminding them about our offering. Try to understand, are there any particular set of problems or any kind of issues that they are facing with either their workload, or are there any strategic mishaps that have happened in the past. Try to solve them through a kind of winning over their trust and trying to give them the most preferred solution that is possible. So these are some of the reasons why networking is very important. Networking also means putting or bringing a bit of a personal flavor into the business, because when you are going to reach out to most of the audit and accounting practices or tax planners or tax practitioners or the bookkeepers of the US market, then networking becomes very important, because they need to firmly believe that you understand their core values and you also understand the various client requirements at their end, whereby you would be able to bring in the best set of possibilities, and you will also deliver not on a time, not just on a timely basis, but effectively and very efficiently. So these are some of the various networking techniques. You can definitely attend the various industry events. There are various industry events that Manit also referred about in terms of VOCA, WOFA, which are all being hosted by by our Indian Institute. There are also various industry events that the US institutes, US CPAs, and the various software and industry professionals host. So one of the examples could be QBO Connect, it could be your ZeroCon, it could be your IRS events. Then there is uh, woman based WHO events. So there are various events that keep happening. Try seeing that if you are able to attend these events, because these are going to be in a particular place. There's going to be a conglomerates of various chartered accountants, your CPAs, your industry professionals who could be your potential clients. And other networking techniques, always have a referral program in place, utilize social media effectively, leverage on the various online directories, offer collaborative solutions, host webinars and workshops, participate in community initiatives. Okay, now let's talk about what are the various compelling value propositions. So on the value proposition, always try to pitch in your USP. What is that unique selling point that you are different from your competitor? What is that EX factor that you are able to bring in the table? That particular point proposition needs to be highlighted in your deck, in your presentation, or in your speech to your potential target clients. Always please customize and make it a tailor-made proposal to your potential clients and not a very specific or a generalized one. We also spoke that there are 50 states in United States. So if you are reaching out to a particular client who is from the state of Delaware, then talk about the local laws and the local issues that usually a potential a CPA firm or a bookkeeping firm would face. How are you solving that? So bring and make your proposal a very customized, tailor-made one. Please add in your proposals, in your decks, and in your meetings, the various case studies and testimonials of your existing client. That would be a very helpful value add, and it will also increase the trust of your potential client on your service qualities. Professional presentations, make it extremely professional and do not make it very boring or a very traditional presentation. Compliance, always be one notch ahead than the regulations. If the regulations mandate you to do XYZ, always please comply with that and be a step ahead of that. Industry specific expertise, if you're reaching out for any due diligences or for any valuations or for any particular bookkeeping or any particular kind of VCFO services, then if there are any industry specific insights or expertise that you can bring to the table, please do highlight and please do reach out. Make your presentations and proposals more industry specific. Always be transparent. Always have a very clear and open communication. You don't have to jack up your costs, or you don't have to say that you are not able to make any profits. Everyone on the global way, they understand that the outsourcing firms are making good amount of profits, but that is how this particular industry is. So always be very clear in terms of what is your cost, what is your margin, and what is the value proposition that you bring to the table. Be very flexible. Do not be please don't be very rigid on your models. Try to be as fluid and flexible, suiting your client requirements. Now, we first covered on the two modules. Then let's talk about what are the various ways in which you can do the initial connections? What are the ways in which you can penetrate your various clients? How can you develop client relationships? And what are the statistics talks about these client relationships? So let's look at the various ways of penetration. So it is we all understand that outsourcing business cannot work just you start your shop and tomorrow you are going to get flooded with clients. No, it is not going to work that way. You need to establish your brand as a potential competitor in the market by winning the trust of various accounting practices, audit practices, bookkeepers, etc. And you will have to always ensure that you demonstrate the right set of value propositions and you walk the talk in terms of your promises. Please always understand that for any particular outsourcing work to work or the brand to be sustaining for a long time, under promise, over deliver. That is always needs to be the mantra of the time. And now let us look at the various ways in which you can penetrate in terms of reaching out or getting or converting a potential lead to a potential client. First thing is that please offer free consultations. When we say free consultations, it could be oral, it could be strategic consultations, it could be even doing a couple of bookkeeping jobs for free to explore or for the client to explore your quality skill sets that you have. Provide them trial services, local offices. Definitely having a local presence or a local office, either strategically by getting into a partnership, or if you are able to have a bandwidth in terms of opening a local office, would be of great strategic help, because they also understand that you are very much serious into this business and you would also be looking to scale this particular outsourcing business. Please respect cultural sensitivity. Please understand there are various cultural sensitive topics that you will have to navigate. Orient and groom your team, your director team, and your delivery team to ensure that they are also very, very culturally sensitive. Always keep attending relevant events. So whenever you keep meeting a potential client again and again, the chances of them getting converted is higher. Then just do not stop only by doing a cold calling or a email marketing. Email marketing followed by reaching out to them through appointments or meeting them in any of these events would help you to faster the process of converting or winning their trust. If there are possibilities, do exhibit and sponsor in most of these events. If you are being asked to speak in any of these engagements, please do that. Press releases, media engagement, client success stories. It is also very important that you appreciate and you kind of convey to the world, or you celebrate some of the various client success stories that you have. So these are some of the ways in which you can penetrate. Now, let us look at a particular possible acquisition roadmap. So whenever we talk about, yes, Giri, I'm trying to do so many things, but I'm not able to convert. So I reach out to them and ask them, so what do you do? They say that I kind of attend the event, and whoever gives me some cards, I try to send them my proposal, but they don't convert. So usually you will not be able to just like that convert a client. You need to, before even attending an event, you need to have a significant online presence. You need to do your cold calling, your email marketing, etc. You need to attend industry events. So this is all part of awareness. So this is where we have broken our acquisition roadmap into 5 stages. First stage is awareness, second stage is interest, third stage is consideration, fourth stage is decision, fifth stage is engagement. So what is the first stage of awareness? So now let us talk about awareness. Awareness is a way or a stage at which your client is not aware that you as a brand is available for them to reach out for potential services. So that is what we call it as awareness. So we need to introduce our outsourcing capabilities. We need to introduce our brand to potential clients and potential partners. So what are the various things that you can do in awareness stage? First is you need to have a website, you need to have a SEO optimized content, you can post blogs, you can do social media posts, etc. Second major thing that you can do is on the industry events, trade shows, conferences, webinars. You can reach out to them, you can reach out to various conferences that happen. Then comes your marketing material, which could be a brochure, flyers, online ads, etc. Now, coming back to our first stage, awareness. So online presence is a very important thing, because first your potential clients or your target market should be aware that you as a brand is available for them to explore on the outsourcing side. So this is what we call it as the first step in our acquisition roadmap of awareness. Second, if a potential client or your target market is aware of your particular brand, then how do you culminate or inculcate the interest of that particular client or that particular potential client to convert or to make from a potential client to your client? How do you culminate that interest? There are few ways in which you can do it. First, it could be direct outreach. Second, it could be educational content. Third, it could be consultations. In direct outreach, it could be your email marketing, cold calls, social media engagements. It could also be you can reach out to their particular offices. You can also allow or make them to take up free consultations, or you can also make them use of some of your existing services. Then you understand that, okay, there is a particular set of clients who are also interested in the various services that you are offering. Then comes the consideration part. This is going to be a very, very critical part, because this consideration part leads to the decision of whether you're going to win the client or you're going to lose the client. So in the consideration stages, we have meetings, proposals, demos, trials, etc. So now let's look at the consideration part. Meetings, most of today's meetings are virtual meetings. If you have a possibility of doing a face-to-face meeting, that would be very, very helpful. During these meetings, please talk about the value propositions that you can bring to the table. Be very, very open and transparent with them. These meetings should be followed by proposals. Try to customize those proposals as much as possible. Follow them with offer demos or trials if it is possible. So during the consideration stage, your potential clients would understand what are the various services that you're offering, and are these offerings required by them or not, is something that they will start considering. Then comes your decision stage. In this particular stage, your potential clients would start then saying that yes, they are interested and they are okay with the service offerings. Then what are the various things or the steps that we need to do? This is where negotiations come into play. We need to have a proper onboarding checklist and an onboarding team. Then comes the account management. So once a decision is made in terms of we are entering into an outsourcing service, please have the contract terms, standard operating procedures, your memorandum of understanding, what are the various models, what are the agreements that you'll have to sign. Once this particular stage of decision making is done and you are aware that you have finally won a client, have a set of practices to have continuous engagement with these clients, because our objective of entering into an outsourcing business is not to have initial success, but to have a long-term impact of scaling up your outsourcing business. You might be a 10-member team today. That is not your goal. Your goal might be, your next logical milestone will be a 100-member team. The next could be a 10,000. It could be a 50,000 member team. So always try to have continuous engagement with your clients. It could be through various client improvement policies. It could be through your executive events. It could be through your various ongoing support, etc. So let us go back to the client acquisition roadmap. First is awareness. Second is to culminate interest on your services to your potential clients. Third comes your consideration. Fourth comes the decision making part. Then comes, once you have successfully onboarded the client, then comes the idea of having always a continuous client engagement and having sharing continuous updates to your clients. So these are some of the various data points. So for the paucity of time, I would skip this, and I'm kind of open to any questions session now. We would just say that in terms of your particular service offering, please identify which are those services that you would like to get yourself into. You don't need to be jack of all trades. It works for few firms that they can be jack of all trades. You could be good in particular set of services. You can also then become master of one. So first identify your niche, then look at what are the various target markets that you would like to get yourself into. You could reach out, or you could potentially reach out to large MNCs, or you could only reach out to accounting practices, or you could only reach out to bookkeepers of a particular state in United States. So first identify who's your target market, which are those locations, or which are those services or geographies that you would like to work in. Then comes your best practices in terms of reaching out to these clients, reaching out to potential parties. Then once you have successfully onboarded a client, always have a continuous feedback mechanism and have a very robust client engagement mechanism in place. And thanks for this opportunity. Thanks, Rishi. So over to you, Rishi.
Yeah, thank you, Giri. I mean, that was really a power-packed session, right from the way you broke down the client targeting and how to reach out to them and the emerging areas. We have got lots and lots of questions. What I've done is I have tried to merge them together because of the paucity of the time. So, any one of you can take up the question. Can we start?
Yes, go ahead, Rishi.
Yep, thanks. The first question would be, I mean, all three of us are into the outsourcing practice and have taken different paths. What I have gained from the little discussion that we had. Now, can we each share how we onboarded our very first US client, or that could be the Australian client? Because what I believe is getting that first business is really important for anyone who is starting off. And if we can help with the mindset or the setup which is required to get the breakthrough.
So, Rishi, probably I have answered this particular question in the last 30-40 minutes. So it is not going to be one particular step that has been successful for us. It has been a combination of various steps. Probably we can pass this question, because this is particular.
Maybe we can just in a brief, you can say, how did you get your first client? What you did to get your first client?
So we were fortunate enough, Rishi, because we were very early entrant in the market, Rishi. So we started off with Western Australia as the base, and that is where we were seeing a lot of mining boom, and there were a lot of skilled resource shortage in terms of accounting for the minerals and the mining industry. So we reached out to them. There was one particular accounting practice who was trying to set up their own GCC. So we took up their particular problem as a service offering, and when we asked them to refer us to the various other practices in their nearby sectors, because they were crippling with skilled resource shortage. And that is how we were able to offer. And then we had to kind of redefine. We started off by job model, whereby we might be receiving 100 tax returns, we will complete that, we'll send it back. Today we are in a kind of a full-time equivalent model.
Nice. And how about you, Manit?
So normally, as far as like I'll say about, I'll talk about this in a manner that if you are a sole person or a freelancer type stuff, then getting a first client will be the most possible scenario that your existing network. For example, if you are having a small client base, they are doing India and they are looking forward towards US. So it's about more word of mouth, because technically, if you cannot spend resources on visiting or identifying such area that okay, where it is a scarcity or where it is crunch of resources or a skilled labor set, then the best way to do is that spread word of mouth that I have started my own practice. I am doing this thing. If you find anything related to US or if you need any assistance to US, you can connect with me. And because our industry is more on a trust, see, this industry is more oriented towards trust. So one who is already knowing you will trust you more as compared to one who does not. So
Definitely.
unless otherwise, that is why I already focus that if you are not into the United States physically there, then directly pitching on a B2C mode will not lead you better results. Instead, you will get frustrated over a period of time. So better would be try to gather your local market, and then those once you get a handhold of it, like one assignment or two assignment. This is practically also an experience with the past 7 batches of students who have tried and have converted their clients from their existing client base. So this is a much better approach, what I'll say.
Nice. Nice. Next question is related to the tools that are being required to be used. I mean, are there any specific tools you recommend for someone just getting started? Tools that make it easier to manage US accounting, tax, payroll work from India. So I mean, you guys touched that in brief. Any specific comment on this?
See, Rishi, probably today we live in a world where most of the software providers, they have their own library of service offerings. They also have explainer videos in terms of what a particular tool or what a particular feature of the software works out. So this will also be a good learning mechanism for most of the young entrepreneurs, because you will also then get exposed to what are the various options that you have, and also what are the various compliance requirements. For example, if you are taking a QBO, in QBO you will have fixed assets management, you will have payroll. In the payroll video or the payroll page that they have, in terms of they telling us the various features, they will also talk about the various regulatory requirements because of which this feature has come into play. So reaching out or doing a analysis of these particular videos or taking up certification courses of these softwares would also be very useful, and would also give any of the new entrants a bit of hands-on experience.
Right. I mean, if anyone asks me, I always say that you can start with the QuickBooks or Zero certification. So any the other preferences do we have?
These two are very
Basic
basic, Rishi. We need to know that.
Right. Thanks.
Sorry, Manit, you were saying something. I had.
Yes,
Right.
QBO and Zero, these are basic softwares, and definitely if you want to learn skill set, these are the most
Your voice is breaking.
preferable and most sources, even if somebody.
Oh, we couldn't hear that properly. How about you, Giri? Where
Yeah,
Similar,
yeah,
similar, Rishi. I was not able to hear him well.
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, actually, my network got automatically switched.
No problem. No
So
problem.
yeah, so one could be this thing. There is a resource which is freely available by QuickBooks, which is QBO Test Drive. If somebody wants to learn that software, they can make a directly hands-on to it. QBO Test Drive, you write it and you can go there. And certifications like QBO Pro Advisor, QBO Payroll Management, and Payroll Advisor. These will also be helpful in terms of learning and doing all those things. One can start from there. And for learning knowledge base, the tax advisor and the IRS materials are good.
Any books or study material suggestions, if you have?
So books, like I already told that if you want to have a layman type of book, then Wiley is a good publication which offers tax laws in a very basic and a simple language. However, if you want more professional, then Walter Cooper is the publication in the United States. They write books on complex issues. Lexis Orbis is one of the publications. But again, books, if I talk about book, then I'll suggest for freshers, it's Wiley or go to IRS materials directly. Their publications regarding partnerships, corporations, that will be more suffice, and they will be at least be able to get around 70-75% of the working knowledge which they are requiring. And as far as they want to hand on a tax software, a software like Drake, or they can go on a various tax software. They offer evaluation version or trial version. They can do that thing also. That is also possible.
Nice. Thank you. There's a question from someone who is trying to start his or her career after a break. So can someone resume a career in the US outsourcing or in outsourcing after taking a break, and how do they build or rebuild confidence and client trust?
Definitely, Rishi. See, we at Axos probably we don't see career breaks as a kind of thing that differentiates someone from who's been continuously working and who has taken some break because of any of their personal or the educational reasons. Definitely, people can start back on their outsourcing work. Only thing is that they will have to refresh their current refresh it to the current requirements in terms of technology and in terms of the regulatory requirements, because this you would be then catching up in terms of your competitors who have been continuously working on this sphere. And some of the ways in which you can kind of gain confidence is to do some of these certification courses, read the IRS material, and to kind of look at various freelancing websites or potential services where they can pick up some work.
Definitely. Good thought. I mean, the next question is really close to me. I mean, I sincerely believe that with the automation, AI, and globalization, right, the competition is going to increase, and we need to pivot from the basic accounting to more value-added services. So, where do you see Indian CAs fitting in over next 3 to 5 years in the global accounting ecosystem?
Manit, do you want to pick up? Then I will add my views on this.
Yes, sure. So, Rishi, as far as this is concerned, what I feel is currently, definitely AI is in the initial phases of it. So earlier we used to also have robotic process automation that also had a basic impact. But again, I'll say that small and medium-sized businesses definitely do adopt technology at a pace. But the thing is that adoption in a term that, because at a very rapid pace, does not happen easily and does not happen so fast. AI definitely is a challenging thing because it has a capacity, it has a capability to think. So it can make things on its own, which we were not having earlier also. But today, see, we can still have ourselves more compatible using AI as a tool, because ultimately it's a tool which we can also use. So definitely what AI can do at max is, earlier it was a robotic process automation in terms of categorization. Now AI can also think and make it more accurate. But again, finalizing of the financial statements or finalizing of the tax return and all those things, the capabilities which we can use to deliver, and we can scale ourselves. So this is also an opportunity to get ourselves more scalable as well as more strategic oriented persons as earlier. And in fact, using AI to deliver, to help in your researches, your note deliveries, or even your when you are consulting client, taking a second opinion from AI. These type of scenarios are not new in this current era. So to my understanding, from where I see from next 3 to 5 years, what I can see is that AI, when it comes building into the tech which we are already using, such as tax software, the accounting softwares, we will be getting more time. It will be a time-saving opportunity for us, and it will definitely be a enhancement to the client delivery itself.
Exactly.
And once the client delivery gets better, gets more chances and more opportunity. Definitely,
Of
Giri,
course.
to add on this.
Yeah,
Giri,
agree.
to add.
Thanks, Manit. And probably I would answer this question in two parts, Rishi. The first part is that on a overall at a global level, and the second one is specific to the US market. So when I talk on the global or the overall level, AI is definitely only going to be an enabler. So as Manit spoke about robotic process automation, so we have also seen various scenarios whereby the world has evolved into various technological updates. So at the advent of at the 1980s, when we talked about computer, most of the people said that computer aayega, काम चले जाएगा. This was particularly a kind of a phrase where people were so scared. So, but it has never been a scenario where people have lost jobs. People have become more efficient, and the value systems or the value per capita per human value proposition or value addition has only increased or inched higher. Similarly, when it came to robotic process automation, or similarly when it comes to AI, we are only talking about AI when it comes to Chat GPT. We are talking about AI when it comes to kind of Gemini, but there is also a lot of existing accounting softwares itself which have been built only on machine learning that is doing phenomenal work. Let me just give you an example to you, Rishi and Manit. And in terms of in this webinar, let me also introduce like a software called Text that we usually use in Australia. So you have a bill, you have a purchase bill, or it could be any kind of invoice. You just have to scan that invoice. काम हो गया. So what the system will do, the machine that has been programmed to do is that it will analyze the data and it will analyze to say whether it's a personal expense or it is a professional expense which you are linked to. Then it will go and route it through, because of the API integration, it will route it through the accounting software and it will go get itself classified in the appropriate ledger in which this particular type of expense usually gets accounted. So no one like Giri or Manit or Rishi has to sit down and has to account this particular bill, because the moment you just scan it, in the next 60 seconds, the bill gets shipped to your accounting software. That accounting software accounts for that particular expense in the appropriate ledger, with the document also getting attached to it. So this is the level of automation that at a global level we have seen, which doesn't mean that there is no scope of outsourcing. Scope of outsourcing has only increased and it has become much more personalized and it has much more become value based. We were always talking about outsourcing from a costing perspective. Today we are not talking outsourcing from a costing perspective. From a cost perspective, your outsourcing should always be only a second parameter. The first parameter that we should always be talking is that in an outsourcing engagement, you have highly skilled resources where you can easily scale up and scale down depending on your business. When it comes to the US market, my 2 cents is that still US market at the accounting level is far lagging behind in terms of accounting adoption, in terms of your software adoption. They are still bit into the chronology of paper. So it will take a lot of time for the US markets to reach to the levels in which the global markets have reached in terms of your adoption of technology. So it's a long way to go, but definitely the IRS and the various departments are working towards it.
Very true. I mean, I couldn't agree more to that. And as they say, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows the AI will take your job. It's, applies here as well.
Either आप skill को बढ़ाओ या you will have to leave way. That's it.
Exactly. Next question is related to the risks and red flags. I mean, have you faced any red flags or risk when dealing with the US clients or the clients abroad? And how can any Indian firm protect themselves contractually and practically on that?
This looks to be, Manit, I'll leave it to you, but this looks to be a question whereby pura red flag and pura security thing, kind of a diligence needs to be done at the client end. You need to have appropriate answers for any kind of eventuality, is what I would say from an outsourcing perspective, because we need to be one notch ahead than our competitors and in terms of our regulators. So it is more the clients who are sharing their sensitive data and who are sharing their financial information. So they would be more interested in the red flags and what are the loopholes that we are looking at. But as a basic stuff, having your ISO certifications, doing VAPT, which is your vulnerability and assessment testing, having the right set of firewalls, basic security checkings in place, and having standard operating procedures would be bare minimum for any outsourcing practice to begin with. Over to you, Manoj.
Yes, agreed, Giri. So it is correct, Rishi, that having bare minimum requirements are there, and definitely IRS is very supportive on that part. They have already released publications on safeguarding taxpayer data, providing also a written information security plan template for all. It is available on a public domain. So definitely one should try at least gathering that. And as far as even if we go beyond red flags, and not in terms of working, but even in terms of when, if, as an Indian chartered accountant, we are trying to find work, there is a very big difference. What we have seen normally when the newer people try to get, so the cultural differences are also to be a part which has to be taken care of. Normally these are sometimes become hindrances when you are trying to convert a client, or when you are trying to make a pitch to a B2B network, or even in a B2C network. So always try to ensure that you must understand. For example, just I'm trying to say you that uh, there are 5 time zones in the United States. Sometimes when people try to get in touch with a particular person in a particular time zone, because of unawareness or because of something particular thing, they might not take it so thing, but sometimes it might also impact, because when you are trying to pull up a deal, time zone is important. You cannot ask them to connect it, your feasibility, sometimes their feasibility, or differences between 5 time zones could in fact be in itself a 4 and a half hour thing. So California having a different time zone, New York having a different time zone, these Washington having a different time zone, or sometimes what do you talk with your client? This can also be a red flag. For example, uh, in United States, having a privacy culture is at utmost thing on a top head. So you must also learn something about when you are trying to deal with your client, or when you are trying to deal with the potential lead also. So these could also be a few red flags apart from your infrastructure and your security red flags. Try to know the people you are talking to. At least try to know their cultural background whom you're talking to.
Right. And
Well, I think, Rishi, one of the good points that Manit is bringing out is on the cultural sensitivity. It could be a time zone issue. It could be just not accepting everything, but making it much more fair, or it could be delivering on time. So these are some of the potential things that any good accounting practice or any bookkeeping firm would expect. And these are some of the basic standards that you will have to follow from an outsourcing perspective.
right, also the religious and the cultural ideologies that person we have as an individual, we should keep that aside, right? So yeah. And moreover, I mean, when it comes to the contractual thing, like I had a recent experience where client mentioned like, if anything, any data leaks without my mistake, I'll be charged at least 10 times the fee that I'm receiving. So I negotiated that and brought that down to 2. Of course, see, the outright purpose won't be to, let that happen, but we should not get into such contractual agreements where the impact would be so huge that you'll go bankrupt. So I mean, just those kind of things, and few people get kind of contract from Upwork. I'm one of them. Now, on Upwork, there are many things like payment verified and other things. So yeah, we can look for that as well. What's your take?
So probably my specific answer to you, Rishi, in terms of indemnity is the basic indemnity clause is what you're trying to bring in. So I have two things in place. First is that we need to have the right set of controls and practices to ensure that whereby we can confidently say that there will not be a data leak at our end.
Right.
That is the set of controls or the practices that we'll have to build our organization into. Because if you're going to say that that's may say earlier, that is more like you negotiating. But it will also be important or pertinent that you also bring in that set of a confidence to the negotiating table, that people really understand that yes, this guy really has the right set of practices in place. He really has this standard operating, which is actually operating effectively and not just on paper. So we need to not just talk, but we also need to walk.
Right.
At the same time, having said all this, that we can build our systems, we can build our controls, we can keep grooming and orienting our people. It is also very much important to know that we are living in a very, very technologically advanced world where technology is evolving at a very, very rapid speed. So we also can think about taking indemnity insurances, cyber security insurances, which are pretty much available by the most of the bigger players like Bajaj, Tata, Kotak. Everyone, they have their own insurances. If we are able to factor the insurance cost also into our outsourcing services, then we would also be safe from a end-to-end perspective. It is a two-pronged approach is what I will bring in. One is that we need to build our internal systems processes in a very robust way, because for anyone who is starting now, they are going to start with a 5-member or a 10-member team. If you are able to set the tone for these members in a right way, then your organization, even if it becomes 1,000 or 10,000 people, that will be a very, very safe and secure organization. At the same time, the second approach is that we also need to have a fallback.
True, true. I mean, in this case as well, the internal controls and SOPs were duly checked. But since these clauses are more of the NDA thing, so we made part of. Anyways, can we take our last question today, which would be, I think, how much controls should we maintain on deliverables, deadlines, and data, especially when working remotely?
Technically, as much as possible can, and at least bare minimum which is provided by the law. At least you should follow IRS guidelines and all, and due date management and all the things. We have already are having a strategic advantage in terms of time zone. US is in the night when we are working, so technically we can practically maintain a 24-hour turnaround time when we are having an India-US relationship specifically. And so if saying that, if we think on that part, timelines, deliverables, and definitely these are all mutual discussions. So how much timeline you want to deliver the work? It's technically it's all case to case basis, discuss with the client based on the complexities or the time they want, if it's a early thing or if it's they can expect a delay. But more important thing is, see, timelines can be shifted, timelines cannot be shifted, but it has to be communicated properly. That if you are thinking that we are not able to meet the due date, definitely we can talk to them, we can communicate them, we can inform them in advance also. Everybody adjusts and everybody understands also. I have not seen somebody that, okay, no, I just want it today and whatever happens, I will get it today. I have not seen anybody like this. All accommodate. We also must be accommodative, and then client also accommodates, because sometimes we do adjust according to client requirements, and sometimes clients adjust to our requirements also. It has to be a mutual relationship. As far as this, and regarding the timelines which you talk, and apart from that, the compliance requirements, definitely it has to be bare minimum. But whenever you will read the publication which IRS provides, that is not a very difficult stuff to do. For example, having an antivirus software is not a difficult stuff to do, but it is just that if you don't want it, we will not buy it. Or having a wireless security, we all know Wi-Fi, we all know how to set up a wireless security. It's not that difficult. It's just that we don't want to. We intentionally want to have a password which is very easy to remember. That creates a problem. Otherwise, it is easy to get it done. I think Giri's thoughts on that would also be.
Thanks,
Thanks.
thanks, Manit. So, my probable thoughts on this is that we need to build a culture whereby distinguishment between the onshore team and offshore team should be very, very thin. Because outsourcing is never going to be successful if we are going to only look at someone is outsourcing his work and we are just delivering their services. No, we need to probably thin this difference or thin this line as thin as possible. That is where we will start working in a backward kind of a scenario. So deadline for any outsourcing entity is not going to be different from the deadline that any particular company that is outsourcing. For example, if your IRS deadline for just for the sake is today we are in the May, if it is just in the month of April, 30th of April, then it is definitely imperative that we as a team, if the tax practitioners to whom they are outsourcing and the outsourcing entity, if they sit tantamount and they discuss, then they will then start to back work. If 30th is your deadline, then you are not going to take everything to the last minute. That means you will have a 15-day buffer. Then you will have to ensure that by 15th of April things get signed off. That means you need to give a week of reviews time to the partners or the practitioners. Then you will have to work it back. Then by 7th or 8th of April, basically the outsourcing entity has to ship the documents and should have already completed their work. For which then they should receive the documents or the bare minimum information in the right accepted turnaround time. For few files it could be 7 days, for few files it could be 10 days, it could be 15 days, depending on the assignment and the scope of work. For example, basic tax return of an individual could be the maximum acceptable turnaround time could be 7 days, depending on the volume of work. If you are receiving 1,000 tax returns, if it is going to be a complicated company-based tax return where the company is slightly a million above in terms of revenue and has been having multiple stages of operations, then probably 15 days could be an acceptable turnaround time. Again, this is between the outsourcing firm and the outsourcing firm that they will have to agree upon. Having said all this, that we will have to work as a team, the objective of any outsourcing firm is that the way we have KPIs for our jobs, the biggest KPI for any outsourcing firm is quality, meeting deadlines, and continuous client engagements. So deadlines are pretty much kind of the last red flag that you would like to kind of avoid, or you would try to cross. Always trying to be 1 or 2 days before the deadline is good. If there are genuine reasons, please do not reach out at the nth moment. Instead, reach out as and when you really come across such kind of instances. Most of the clients are very, very accommodative. They also understand.
Right. I mean, no client will like the last minute surprises there.
Correct.
Exactly. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of today's insightful session on navigating US accounting outsourcing and overview. I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Development of International Trade Services and WTO Directorate of ICAI. First and foremost, my sincere gratitude to CA Abhay Chajed sir, convener, and Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singhal sir, deputy convener, for their vision and support in making this global Udan series a reality and providing us a platform to explore international growth practices. A big thank you to our eminent speakers, CA Manit Singh for simplifying US tax structures and compliance insights, and CA Girinath Dave for giving us a strategic lens on fintech, outsourcing, and building global practices. To all the participants, our fellow chartered accountants from across India and beyond, thank you for your active presence and interest. Your enthusiasm makes these sessions truly valuable. Thank you once again and have a great evening ahead.
Thank you so much, Rishi. Thank you so much, Manit.
Thank you, Giri. Thank you, Rishi. It was nice connecting.